They're cute, they're fluffy, and they're public enemy number one in Australia. In Australia, cats now inhabit 99.9% of the land area. For a cat lover, it sure is heaven. But the Australian government sure does not share this view. In July 2015, the Australian government announced a war on feral cats, with the intention of killing over 2 million felines by 2020. However, the 2019 bushfires had complicated the government's efforts in hunting them down. It has created favorable conditions for cat breeding and makes them more difficult to hunt. So, what caused the Australian government to hunt down the feral cats with such determination? To answer this, we need to go back 2 centuries. Before 1800s, cats were not even present in Australia. They were brought to the continent by the Europeans who were settling there. Since they were not native animals, Australian animals were not able to co-evolve with them, and cats were considered as invasive species. Hence, the environmental impact of the cats in Australia were much higher than in any other part of the world. Predation by both domestic and feral cats has caused few species to become extinct, and many are on the verge of extinction. This prompted the government to issue the war declaration on the feral cats. What exactly are feral cats? When a house cat roams or lives outside, it is called an outdoor cat. This category includes cats who are owned, but abandoned or lost. Feral cats are house cats who have reverted to the wild, and are generally born and raised without human companionship or socialization. This makes a huge difference in their behavior. These kittens after a certain point are almost impossible to socialize and are feral, from the Latin term ferus, for wild. Australia's biodiversity is special and distinctive, forged over millions of years of isolation. Many mammal species that survived have been reduced to a minute fragment of their former range and population size, are now threatened and continue to decline. A research found that every year, each individual feral cat in Australia kills 390 mammals, 225 reptiles, and 130 birds. That adds up. Every year, feral cats kill 1.4 billion native Australian animals, around the same number that died in the catastrophic 2019 bushfires when more than 73,000 square miles burned. The report also states that Australia's almost 3.8 million pet cats kill up to 390 million animals every year. Australian species are really on the verge of catastrophe. The Australian government argues that if left unmanaged, cats would continue to eat their way through much of the rest of the Australian fauna. The government even considered to mandate nighttime curfews to prevent domestic cats leaving their homes after dark. Some areas of Australia have gone even further. In the northeastern state of Queensland, there's even a council offering a $10 bounty per feral cat scalp. Hunting cats in Australia is nothing new. Since the late 1800s, feral cats were hunted for food and was an important diet at one point in time. However, the current situation is more like a war. Few hunters oppose this eradication method. They say the spirit of hunting would be to eat it after hunting. But this is just killing and should not be considered hunting. Since they were first introduced by European settlers, feral cats have helped drive an estimated 20 mammal species to extinction. And that's significant in Australia, an island nation that was cut off from the rest of the world for thousands of years. Today, an estimated 80% of Australia's mammals and 45% of its birds are found in the wild nowhere else on Earth. Many people in Australia genuinely hate cats because of the threat they pose to other species. All of Australia's states and territories have agreed to list feral cats as pests. The bulk of the government funding for the plan will go to administering the culls, which will involve baiting, shooting, or poisoning feral cats. The government is taking many steps to prove that these actions will be carried out in as humane and effective manner as possible. Not only Australia, but New Zealand too wages this war against the feline creatures. In fact, there have been calls to put a stop to domestic cats altogether. New Zealand has no native land mammals besides bats, meaning a large variety of birds, including the country's flightless kiwi, were able to thrive in a land without predators. Now, 37% of New Zealand's bird species are threatened. What's more, many of New Zealand's native birds are ground dwellers, making them susceptible to cats. In 2013, well-known New Zealand economist Gareth Morgan drew the ire of cat lovers when he launched a campaign called Cats to Go, encouraging cat lovers to avoid replacing their pet when it dies. Cats are the only true sadists of the animal world, serial killers who torture without mercy, he said. This is not without opposition though. Many accuse the government is literally sacrificing cats to mask their failure to protect all species. Opposition also claims that there are actual proofs that animals can learn to adapt and evolve in a very short time. And it would be a matter of time that native Australian species learn to survive the cats.